The twin suns of Sirikar burned red and gold over the grand arena. This planet, known for its ruthless gladiator battles, had a name that echoed across galaxies. It was not a place for the weak. Only the strongest, fastest, and smartest survived here. And at the top of them all stood Shira, the unbeaten warrior of Sirikar. Shira wasn't just strong, she was terrifying. Tall, fast, and with sharp green eyes that seemed to see into the future, she had never lost a battle. But what truly made her feared was her tail. It was long, muscular, and covered in armored scales. Sharp blades were fused into the end, making it a deadly weapon. Many challengers had tried to cut it. None had succeeded. Some said her tail had a mind of its own. Others believed it was magical. But one thing was certain: no one had ever made her bow. Crowds from different planets filled the arena seats, shouting and waving banners. They had all come to see the next fool try and fight her. Today's challenger was unexpected. A human. A man named Cole walked slowly into the arena. He wore no high-tech armor, no shields, no laser weapons, just a simple black tunic and a steel sword on his back. He looked around, breathing in the dust, the noise, and the scent of burning torches. From the viewing box, Shira stood watching. She tilted her head, confused. Humans didn't often come to Sirikar, and when they did, they rarely lasted more than a minute in the ring. Yet this one seemed calm, too calm. "What is this?" she asked the arena master, the human with no armor. "This is an insult." The arena master shrugged. He requested only a sword. We warned him. He still accepted. The match is legal. Shira's eyes narrowed. She stepped into the arena, her tail dragging slowly behind her like a serpent ready to strike. Cole looked at her and gave a small nod. "You're famous," he said quietly, "but I didn't come here to win glory. I came to understand." The crowd laughed. Some shouted insults. Others threw objects. But Cole didn't flinch. He watched Shira's every movement, especially her tail. "You speak as if this is a lesson," Shira said with a smirk, her voice like steel. "Let me teach you then." She snapped her tail hard into the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Cole covered his eyes for a second, then stood straight again. "Ready?" she asked. He nodded. The drums boomed. The match had begun. Earlier that day, when Cole arrived on Sirikar, he had walked past broken warriors, some missing arms, others blind in one eye. They all had one thing in common: they had faced Shira. Each had a story, and all ended the same way. They lost before they could even touch her tail. But Cole wasn't like the others. He wasn't here for fame. He had trained under ancient human masters. He believed every fighter had a pattern, a rhythm. And if one could find it, even the strongest could be beaten. Back in the arena, Shira charged at him. She moved like lightning. Her claws slashed through the air, and her tail swung wide. Cole dodged the first strike, rolled under the tail, and barely escaped the blade. The crowd roared. Shira paused and turned. "Not bad. You're fast." Cole didn't answer. He wasn't trying to talk. He was studying, watching how she moved, where she stepped, and how her tail reacted. Every time she struck, the tail came just after. There was a pattern, small but real. She attacked again. Cole blocked with his sword, sparks flying. He winced at the force. Her strength was overwhelming. But her tail, he noticed, followed a half-second delay, always just behind her main attack. That delay was his only chance. Shira could feel it too. The human wasn't strong, but he wasn't afraid. And he was getting closer to her weak points. That made her uneasy. "Why do you keep dodging?" she asked as they circled each other. "Why don't you fight back?" Cole answered softly, "Because I'm not finished learning." Shira growled, tail whipping hard into the air. The arena floor cracked under the force. The crowd had gone from laughing to watching closely. This was different. The human wasn't running away. He was surviving. Finally, Cole stopped moving and took a firm stance. He held his sword in both hands. His eyes locked on the tail, not Shira's face. The warrior of Sirikar narrowed her eyes. She didn't know it yet, but something had changed. This human, he had seen what others had missed. And he wasn't done yet. The match had paused for only a moment, yet everything felt slower, tenser. Cole stood still, sword in hand, breathing calmly as if this was just another training session back on Earth. But it wasn't. It was the arena of Sirikar, and across from him stood Shira, the most feared warrior in the sector. The crowd had stopped laughing. Their eyes followed Cole now, not because they thought he would win, but because he hadn't lost yet. That alone was something no one expected. A few hours before the fight, inside the fighters' hall, Cole had walked into the preparation chamber. The room smelled of iron and dust. On one side, warriors strapped on energy shields, helmets, and plasma blades. They checked their gear with shaking hands. They all knew who the opponent was. None were excited. Cole didn't touch any of the armor. Instead, he asked for one thing: a steel sword. No upgrades. No tricks. "Are you serious?" the supply guard asked, raising an eyebrow. "You know who you're facing, right?" "I know," Cole said. "That's why I want only a sword, and nothing else." The guard leaned in. "Look, no human has ever fought in this arena without protection. You could die in seconds." Cole replied, "That's true. But I didn't come here to survive. I came here to understand her." That sentence confused many in the room, including the judge who overheard. He tried to talk Cole out of it, offering him a full combat suit, but the human refused. He didn't explain further. Instead, he calmly walked to the side, stretched his arms, and began sharpening the sword himself. Back in the present, the fight resumed. Shira came at him again, this time faster, with more force. Her claws were a blur. Her tail whipped like a blade storm, trying to corner him. But Cole kept moving, sliding under her arm, stepping sideways, rolling out of range. To the crowd, it looked like dancing. To Shira, it felt like hunting something that refused to stand still. That frustrated her. "Stand and fight me," she growled. "What kind of warrior runs from battle?" Cole dodged again and replied, "A smart one." She swung her tail in anger. It slammed into the floor, cracking the stone. Cole stumbled backward, almost tripping. The blade tip of her tail missed his chest by just inches. He could feel the wind from the strike pass by him. He was sweating now, but not out of fear. He was focusing, studying. There was a tiny delay every time she moved her tail after a punch or a step. He had seen it clearly now. Others had probably missed it because they focused on her arms or her roar. Cole was different. His teacher had once said, "The real weapon is not what they swing, it's what they hide." And what Shira hid was that her tail wasn't invincible, it was predictable. Cole didn't smile. He didn't speak again. He just prepared himself. He knew the moment was coming. Shira shouted and jumped, claws raised, ready to strike from above. Her tail followed behind her. The crowd stood up, thinking this was the end. Cole stepped forward instead of back. He timed it perfectly. As she landed, her claws slashed downward, but Cole rolled to the side. The tail came next, exactly where he expected it. In one perfect motion, he raised his sword, turned his wrist, and sliced at the narrow joint near the blade. There was a sharp metallic sound, followed by silence. The tail stopped moving. Shira gasped. She turned around, looking in disbelief. A long piece of her armored tail lay on the ground. Cut clean. The crowd froze. Every eye was on the fallen tail. Some stood with mouths open. Others sat down slowly, not believing what they had just seen. Shira stared at Cole. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't proud. He just looked at her with calm eyes. "You found the opening," she whispered. "You actually touched it." Cole nodded once. "I told you," he said quietly. I didn't come here to win. I came to understand. Shara took a step back. Her mind was spinning. For years, she had trained that tail to be an unbeatable weapon. No one had ever come close. No one had seen through the timing. But this human did, and he used a simple blade. She felt a strange pressure in her chest. Not pain. No, shame. It was something else. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. Respect. Then, something even more shocking happened. Shira slowly walked toward Cole. The crowd watched in complete silence. And then, she knelt down, her head lowered. I bow to you, she said. You saw what others ignored. You deserve this honor. Gasps filled the air. The warrior of Sirikar, the undefeated legend, had bowed to a human. The silence in the arena was strange. The crowd, known for shouting, cheering, and throwing objects, now stood still, like statues frozen in time. Even the wind seemed to stop blowing as Shira, the most feared warrior of Sirikar, bowed her head in front of a human. Cole looked at her quietly, unsure of what to say. He hadn't come here to humiliate her. He hadn't even come to win. But something had changed in this moment, not just for him, for everyone watching. The arena master stepped forward, confused and speechless. Never in history had Shura bowed to anyone, not even the council leaders. Her pride was as strong as her fighting skills. But now, in front of thousands of alien spectators, she knelt before a human who came with nothing but a sword. Cole broke the silence. Stand, he said softly. This isn't a moment of shame. It's a moment of truth. Shira raised her head slowly. Her green eyes were still sharp, but something behind them had shifted. Her tail, now wounded, hung low, still twitching slightly at the end. I never thought anyone would understand it, she said quietly. They all tried to beat me with strength. You watched. You waited. And then, you moved with perfect timing. No panic. No ego. I've studied many warriors, Cole replied. But you are the most difficult. Your body moves fast, but your tail is delayed, just a little. It was the only chance I had. Shira stood now tall again, but her face showed no anger. Instead, she looked at Cole like he was something rare. Not just a fighter, but a thinker. Then the crowd erupted. They didn't boo. They didn't protest. They cheered, not just for Cole, but for the moment. It was more than a fight now. It was a story that would spread across galaxies. The human who cut the unbeatable tail and earned the bow of Sirikar's champion. Later that day, in the private chamber behind the arena, Shira sat on a bench while a healer treated her tail. Cole was invited to sit across from her. He refused water, food, or any reward. He only wanted to talk. I know your people see your tail as a symbol of strength, Cole said, looking at the bandaged area. I didn't want to disrespect it. You didn't, Shira replied. In fact, you gave it more meaning than anyone else. All those who challenged me only wanted to break it. But you studied it. You gave it value. That's something no one else did. Cole nodded. That's what makes you different from others. You're not just powerful, you're smart. And your tail is not your weakness. It's a part of your story. Like a sword passed from one generation to the next. Shira thought about that. She had grown up training since childhood. Her tail had been her weapon, her shield, her identity. But it had also been her prison. She couldn't live without defending it. Every day, someone wanted to challenge her. Every day, she had to prove she was still undefeated. Now, for the first time, she felt something strange. Freedom. You know, she said, your people are not known for combat in this part of the galaxy. Most species think humans are soft. Cole smiled a little. They haven't seen what we really are. Most just see what's on the surface. That's their mistake. Shira stood up. I'm not making that mistake again. I saw your heart. You could have finished me when I fell. But you didn't. I didn't come to destroy, Cole said. I came to learn. Shira looked at him with great interest. What are you planning next? Cole looked out the window, where the twin suns were setting. I don't know, but I do know that humans and Scifi have never worked together. Maybe it's time we start something new. There was a pause between them. Then Shira said, would you train with me? Cole turned toward her. You want to spar again? No, she said with a small smile. I want to learn from you this time. That surprised him. You're already a legend. What could I possibly teach you? Shira placed a hand gently on her bandaged tail. How to fight with more than just strength. Cole looked at her with respect. Then let's start tomorrow. As night fell over Scifi, the news spread across the stars. The unbeatable warrior had not been defeated, but awakened, and the human who had earned her bow was now her partner in something greater than any fight. Something was changing in the galaxy, and it had started with a sword, a bow, and a human who watched before he struck. The training grounds of Scifi had never been so quiet. Usually, they echoed with the sound of crashing blades and loud roars. But today, something different was happening. Warriors from different clans stood at the edge of the ground, watching with curious eyes. In the center stood Shira, dressed in light combat robes instead of her usual heavy armor. Her tail was wrapped in a protective cover as it healed. Beside her stood Cole, holding the same sword he had used in the arena. But this was not a fight. It was a lesson. Start with what you know, Cole said, raising his sword and stepping back. Then unlearn it. That's how I was trained. Shira tilted her head. Unlearn. Yes, sometimes the old ways block your mind from seeing new paths, he explained. Shira had never trained like this. Her people believed in strength and repetition. The same drills, every day, until your body moved without thought. But Cole's way was different. It was quiet, thoughtful. His footwork was light, like he was dancing. The two began to move. Slowly. No strikes. Just motion. Circling each other. Cole watched her shoulders, not her face. Your tail was strong, he said, but it controlled your style. You always expected it to end the battle. But now, without it fully working, you have a chance to become something more. Shira blinked. Something more than what? Cole stopped. More than a weapon. That struck her deeply. She had always been seen as a weapon, a living tool of war. But no one had ever told her she could be something more. They trained for hours. Cole showed her how to shift weight, how to redirect attacks, how to listen with her body. He didn't bark commands. He moved, waited, and let her feel the rhythm. And slowly, she started to understand. At the edge of the training field, Scifi soldiers whispered among themselves. Why is she training with him? She bowed to that human. Now she follows him too. This will shame our people. But not all agreed. A few warriors, especially the younger ones, saw something new, something powerful. This wasn't weakness. This was transformation. After the session, Shira sat on a rock, drinking water. She looked up at the two suns. You didn't just cut my tail, she said. You cut something deeper. A part of me I didn't even know existed. Cole sat nearby. Maybe that part just needed light. There was silence between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was peaceful. Then a messenger arrived. He bowed and said, Shira, the High Council has summoned you. They demand answers. Shira's eyes narrowed. I knew this was coming. Cole stood up. What's the council like? Traditional, she replied. Old minds. They don't like change. They won't like what we've done. Cole nodded. Then let's give them something they can't ignore. Truth. The next day, the Grand Hall of Scifi's capital was full. Members of the High Council, all dressed in golden robes, sat in a half-circle. In front of them stood Shira. Cole stood quietly beside her. One of the oldest members leaned forward. You bowed to a human. In front of the galaxy. Explain yourself. Shira answered without fear. Yes, I bowed, Because I saw something none of you did. I saw a warrior who respected me, not just challenged me. A human who defeated my tail, not through brute force, but through wisdom. Another council member frowned. You shame our traditions. No, she said clearly. I improve them. There were murmurs in the hall. Then Cole spoke. His voice was calm. I didn't come here to defeat your champion. I came to learn from her. And now she learns from me. If you feared it, then your power is already broken. The hall grew quiet. The head of the council stood. What do you want, human? Cole looked around. I want a future where Sarikar and Earth don't fear each other. I want warriors from both planets to train together, to build strength through trust, not blood. The council remained silent. Then the head spoke again. This idea is dangerous. Shira stepped forward. So was I. And yet, you supported me. Support this too. The council members looked at each other. Finally, the head said, we will not stop you, but if this fails, you take the blame. Shira nodded. I accept. As Cole and Shira left the hall, the sun outside was bright and warm. A new path had been opened, a path no one had dared to walk before. Shira looked at Cole and smiled. You made me bow. Now I will help others rise. The days following the council meeting were tense. Shira and Cole had agreed to begin training together, but their decision to bring their two worlds together wasn't simple. There was a lot of resistance from both sides. Many Sarikari still didn't trust humans, and the Earth diplomats were unsure about Shira's true intentions. But Shira didn't care. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was doing something right. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for something bigger. At the Sarikari training grounds, Shira stood in the center, waiting. She had changed her training style since Cole's lessons. Instead of relying solely on strength, she was now learning to think, to plan her moves carefully, to listen to her opponent. It was strange. She had always fought for pride and tradition. Now she was fighting for progress. Cole stood on the sidelines, watching her carefully. His presence was a quiet reminder that her training had only just begun. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about understanding. Today was a big day. The first joint training session was about to begin. Warriors from both Sarikar and Earth would fight side by side for the first time. Shira looked around at the soldiers who had gathered. They were hesitant. Some were already eyeing the humans with suspicion. Others whispered to one another, unsure of what to expect. They're afraid, Cole said softly, stepping beside her. But they'll come around. Shira nodded. They have to. Just then, a Sarikari captain stepped forward, looking at Cole and then back to Shira. He didn't say a word but motioned for the fighters to line up. The first sparring match began. A Sarikari warrior faced off against a human. The Sarikari was taller, stronger, his tail snapping the air with lethal precision. The human was smaller, faster, but lacked the strength of a Sarikari. The fight began, and for the first few seconds, the human seemed to struggle. But then, just as Shira had taught him, he dodged the Sarikari's tail strike, moved to the side, and with a quick maneuver, knocked the Sarikari off balance. The crowd gasped. This wasn't how they had expected the fight to go. The Sarikari warrior stood up quickly, looking at the human with new respect. Not bad, he muttered. Then he extended his hand. I underestimated you. The human shook it. That's what we're here for. To learn. Shira watched the interaction closely. She had expected the Sarikari to fight to the death, but instead they were learning from each other. The human had shown that strength wasn't just about size or power, it was about adaptability. And the Sarikari had shown that even without their traditional methods, they could still be effective. As the training continued, more and more warriors from both sides began to spar. The energy in the arena shifted from tension to curiosity. The humans were faster, lighter on their feet, while the Sarikari were stronger, with moves that were more brutal but effective. Together, they created a balance. In one sparring session, Shira faced a human woman named Maya, who had trained in hand-to-hand combat. The two circled each other, each waiting for an opening. Maya moved first. She threw a punch, which Shira easily blocked with her forearm. But then Maya slid beneath her, trying to take her legs out from under her. Shira stepped back just in time. "You're good," she said with a grin. Maya smiled. "You're not bad yourself." They continued sparring, each learning from the other. It wasn't about defeating the opponent. It was about understanding each other's strengths. After hours of training, the warriors of both sides were exhausted, but they were also smiling. They had learned something important that day, not just about fighting, but about cooperation. As the sun set, Shira and Cole stood together, watching the soldiers leave the training grounds. They had made progress, but there was still much work to be done. "This is just the beginning," Shira said quietly. Cole looked at her and nodded. "We've taken the first step. Now we need to take the next one," Shira said, her eyes shining with determination. "We can't go back. There's no going back to the old ways." Cole smiled. "No, we're building something new." And they were. Every training session, every lesson, every shared experience was building something stronger than just a partnership. It was building a future where two very different worlds could fight together as one. The days after the first joint training session felt different. The air on Scifi seemed to hum with new energy. The once divided warriors now shared something: respect. Both the Scifi and the humans had learned something about themselves. They had learned to fight together, not against each other. Shira and Cole spent the next few weeks pushing this new alliance forward. They worked closely together, breaking down the walls between their cultures. Shira had always believed that strength came from domination, from the sheer will to overpower an enemy. But now, she was learning something new. That true strength wasn't just about overpowering someone. It was about learning, adapting, and growing together. One evening, Cole and Shira sat together in the courtyard outside the training grounds, watching the twin suns dip below the horizon. The day had been long, filled with intense training and teaching. Now, there was peace between them, something Shira had never expected to feel so easily with a human. "You know," Shira said, breaking the silence, "I thought I'd be alone in this. I thought that once I gave up my tail, I'd have nothing left to prove." Cole turned to her, his face thoughtful. "It's not about proving anything to anyone anymore. You're not defined by your tail, Shira. You're defined by your choices. You chose to trust me. You chose to work with others instead of just fighting them. That's strength." Shira's eyes softened. She had never heard a human speak like that. Most of the humans she had met saw strength as something physical, but Cole had shown her that true strength came from within. He had proven it when he cut her tail, not to destroy her, but to help her see something new about herself. "That's what I'm trying to do now," Shira said. "Show others that we don't have to follow the old ways. We don't have to keep fighting for power. We can fight for something greater." Just then, a group of Scifi soldiers walked by. They glanced at Shira and Cole, whispering among themselves. Some nodded in respect, while others just kept their heads down, avoiding eye contact. "They still don't trust us fully," Cole remarked, noticing their discomfort. Shira sighed. "No, they don't. But trust is earned, not given. We have to show them that we're strong in different ways. We have to prove that we can fight for more than just glory." Cole smiled. "And we will. But it'll take time." Shira nodded. Yes, time and effort. As they continued to talk, a loud voice suddenly interrupted their conversation. "Shira, Cole, you're needed in the council chambers." It was a messenger from the High Council. Shira's expression hardened, but she stood up and followed the messenger without a word. Cole walked beside her, his mind already thinking of what could be happening now. When they entered the council chambers, they were met with the same faces, old, traditional, and skeptical. The council members sat in their high chairs, looking down at them. There was an air of tension in the room, and the usual loud discussions had gone quiet. "What is it?" Shira asked, her voice steady. The head of the council, an older Sarakari with a stern expression, looked at Shira with a mixture of respect and concern. "You and your human partner have made waves, Shira. Not just with the warriors, but across the entire council." "We've only been training," Shira replied. "We're trying to create an alliance, not a war." "Yes, but the warriors are starting to question the traditions. They're questioning the very foundations of Sarakari's strength. They fear that this will weaken us. They fear what might happen if we stop holding on to the past." Cole stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "We're not trying to take away what makes Sarakar strong. We're trying to add to it. Strength isn't just in fighting. It's in evolving. We don't need to fight against each other. We need to fight together." The council members exchanged looks. It was clear that not all of them were convinced. Some of them looked at Shira like she had betrayed them. Others stared at Cole with suspicion. But there was one council member, a younger one, who spoke up. I think they're right," the council member said quietly. "Our strength comes from unity, not division. And this alliance could be the start of something new, something better." The room fell silent. Finally, the head of the council spoke. "We will allow you to continue with your training. But if this alliance fails, you will take full responsibility, Shira. And if the human proves to be a weakness rather than a strength." Shira's heart tightened. "I won't fail. And neither will Cole." The council members remained quiet, but their gazes softened. The tension in the room eased just a little. For the first time, Shira felt a shift in the atmosphere. They weren't all against her. Not anymore. The meeting ended, and Shira and Cole walked out together. The evening air was cool, and the stars were bright above them. "I think we've made progress," Cole said, smiling. "We have," Shira agreed, "but there's still a long way to go." Cole looked at her, his eyes full of determination. "Then let's walk that path together." Shira nodded, a rare smile breaking through her usual serious expression. Together. And for the first time in a long while, Shira felt like she was not alone in this fight. The bond between her and Cole had grown stronger, and now they would face the challenges ahead, not as enemies, but as allies. The sun had barely risen, casting a soft glow over the training grounds. Shira stood at the edge of the field, watching as the warriors from both Sarakar and Earth began their morning warm-ups. The air was crisp, filled with the sounds of footsteps and the clanging of weapons. But there was something different about this morning. The warriors moved together, not as enemies, but as partners. Shira felt a sense of pride. The lessons had not been easy, but they were beginning to see the truth. Strength did not come from destruction. It came from understanding, from working together, from pushing each other to be better. Cole walked up beside her, his expression calm and focused. He had been working with the humans and Sarakari alike, teaching them the importance of adaptability, of finding new ways to fight. It wasn't just about brute force, it was about thinking. And for Shira, it was about feeling her opponent, not just reacting to them. "You're quiet today," Cole said, noticing her gaze on the field. Shira looked at him, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I was just thinking about how far we've come. Just a few weeks ago, we were strangers. Now look at this." She gestured to the warriors training side by side. Cole nodded. "It's amazing, isn't it? We've only just begun, but already I can feel the change. It's happening." Shira's smile faded slightly as she thought about the council meeting the day before. Though they had allowed the training to continue, Shira could sense the lingering doubts among some of the council members. Not everyone was convinced that this alliance was the future of Sarakar. "I still don't trust the council," she said quietly. "They agreed to let us train together. But I know they're watching us, waiting for us to fail." Cole's voice was steady. "I know, but you've already done what they thought was impossible. You've made them question everything. And that's a victory in itself. Shira nodded slowly, though she still felt a tightness in her chest. She had fought for so long to protect her people, to defend her title as the strongest warrior in Sarikar. Now she was doing something different. She was leading them, not through force, but through example. "Do you think they'll ever accept this?" Shira asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. "I think they will," Cole said confidently. "But it won't be easy. It never is. Change takes time, and people are afraid of it. But what we're building here isn't just for us. It's for everyone." Shira turned to face him. "And what about you, Cole? You didn't come here to fight. You came here to learn. But I can see it. There's something more for you, too. You've changed since you arrived." Cole looked at her, his eyes thoughtful. "I didn't know it at first, but yes, you're right. I've learned more than I ever expected. About strength, about trust, and about what it really means to fight for something bigger than myself." Shira felt a warm sense of pride fill her chest. Cole hadn't just adapted to Sarikar's ways. He had transformed them. And in return, he had helped her transform as well. As they stood together, watching the warriors train, a loud voice called out from the far side of the field. "Shira, Cole, we need you over here."